Professor Simon Tay, Mr. Arif Iwono, my good friend from Indonesia. It's been many years now since we've had interactions, and it's always a pleasure to have you here in Singapore, as well as all the many other places in the world that we meet from time to time. Your Excellency, Mr. Stig Travik, the Norwegian ambassador to ASEAN and to Indonesia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a good afternoon to you all. And I would like to express my gratitude to SWR for the invitation and for organizing this conference. 2015 is supposed to be a significant year for the United Nations. The General Assembly will be considering the proposals to formulate a set of sustainable development goals, and every single country, including Singapore and ASEAN members, will have a role to play. Therefore, the theme for this dialogue, sustainability, a new profit driver, is apt and timely. And I just want to make 4 points before we move on with the dialogue. First, empowerment of consumers. There's an increasing trend where consumers are demanding for environmentally friendly products, but the key problem impeding this empowerment is information asymmetry. Some would argue that there is a lack of market demand for sustainable products and a lack of motivation for sustainable methods of production. I would beg to differ. The changes to consumer behavior are already clearly underway. And overall, there's been an awakening in the consciousness of consumers about the importance of sustainability. Several consumer market surveys that have been conducted in the last few years have shown that the environmental record of the company and of the products and services does play a major part in the buying decisions of consumers. And this is not just a phenomena in developed countries, but in fact, in a 2014 survey done by Nielsen, showed that 55% of the global online consumers across 60 different countries have said that they are willing to pay more for products and services which are provided by companies that are committed to provide positive social and environmental impact. This propensity or willingness to buy socially responsible brands is actually strongest in the Asia-Pacific region, where 64% of respondents indicated this preference. This was followed by Latin America, 63%, and Middle East and Africa, 63%. Paradoxically, the numbers for North America and Europe were only 42% and 40%, respectively. Be that as it may, the point I'm making is that there's a significant number of consumers who demand and are willing to pay more for products and services that are sourced sustainably. And I believe this preference, this voting with their feet and voting with their wallets, will grow stronger in the years to come. And therefore, the key point is that we need to reduce the information asymmetry, the information gap between consumers and producers. Therefore, branding, labeling, packaging, and marketing are all critical. And the industry sectors that can first develop standards and labels on sustainable products will have a head start. I can see plenty of room for improvement in the palm oil industry. Many of you, or I suppose many of the people in the audience today, would be aware that in fact palm oil permeates through many of our daily products. It's used in things ranging from cakes, chocolates, cosmetics, detergents, and fuels. But that said, I've always found it surprising. If you pick up a packet of food, or chips, or even chocolates, there will often be a cryptic line that refers to vegetable oils and fat, rather than coming up front and saying, this is palm oil. I think this is an example of being upfront and communicating accurately and fairly to our consumers. But on a more encouraging note, I've noticed how the food industry is gaining momentum in this area, making some progress. You might be familiar with F&N Magnolia Milk, which you can easily find in all our supermarkets. They have switched their packaging to the Forest Stewardship Council certified cartons. And to create consumer awareness of the eco-friendly practices, they advertise and they hold promotions that will encourage consumers to take care of the environment by enlightened purchasing decisions. And this is one good example. Reduce the information asymmetry, be upfront, gain credibility, gain market share. So bringing down the cost of producing sustainably and holding polluters, on the other hand, to be accountable for their negative externalities is therefore the larger strategic objective. But this will require the exercise of political will, comprehensive legislation, international cooperation, and determined enforcement. This is not something that can be done by us individually, but requires collective action. And this brings me to my second point, that of leveraging technology. We all know that technology is an important enabler. Not only does it increase business productivity, it can also transform the markets and the societies that we operate in. Just a week ago, I gave a speech at the SMU Sim Kee Boon Institute on Financial Economics, and I touched on how technology is having a profound impact on the entire financial sector, how brick and mortar stores and business models have had to change their modus operandi, and they've had to ride on these new technological waves, such as the internet, mobile phones, internet shopping, transparency, the ease by which campaigns get started, and the fact that secrets are so hard to keep. All these are transforming the way we live, the way we play, the way we purchase, the way we interact, the way our culture evolves. Similarly, there is the potential for another transformation in the future of product supply chain tracking and monitoring, in particular for commodities. Let's take an example, satellite technology. The World Resources Institute Global Forest Watch FIRE, or the SIIA's Haze Tracker, use satellite tracking technology overlaid with company concession maps, crowdsourced data, and on-the-ground networks in order to facilitate the identification of fire and haze culprits. And this, in turn, will promote a more transparent forest management across the region. The development of space technology has been rapid ever since the first satellite, the Sputnik 1, was launched in 1957 by the Soviet Union. Today, it is estimated that there are more than 1,000 active satellites orbiting the Earth, and some of these are capable of very high-resolution photography. And these high-resolution satellite images, coupled with global positioning systems, have greatly strengthened the ability for us all to embark on detailed environmental monitoring. Similarly, in the way that personal computers became commoditized and substantially replaced mainframe computers, the emergence of micro and even nano satellites by developers and manufacturers such as SPIRE, Planet Labs, and Skybox are also transforming space access in an unprecedented manner. For those of you who are not aware, micro and nano satellites, well, the name gives it away, they're small. But it's not just about the size, but really the fact that these satellites, sometimes just a couple of kilograms, can cost less than $1 million to launch, to build, launch, and deploy. And as these technologies become more commoditized, the price tag will fall. And what this means is that we will be able to see in real time where and who is burning the forests or exploiting natural resources irresponsibly. That's one example. Another example is a biological one. Double Helix is a Singapore-registered company which has taken a lead in the development of the DNA analysis of trees and wood. This enables them to take any piece of furniture, do DNA analysis in it, and identify the primary forest from which it came from. In other words, there are now biological or biometric methods to assess the veracity, the integrity of the documents and the certificates which are produced for the purposes of import, export, and the global distribution of wood. And this has made a significant difference to combating illegal logging. And mind you, the price of DNA sequencing will also fall dramatically. It has already fallen dramatically in the last decade. It will continue to fall, and these tools will be commoditized. In the area of sustainability monitoring, the Forest Trust has also made use of cyberspace technology and launched online monitoring dashboards for many companies in our region. And this provides a platform for the company management to have a real-time picture of what's happening in their concession areas. And I believe the companies that are already using these dashboards includes Wilma, APP, Golden Agri, Cargill, and many others. Therefore, the point I'm making is that technology can be a powerful game changer. It will allow consumers and non-government organizations to have more information. It will allow management to also have a better grip on what is happening within their areas of control. And it will help us make companies and individuals and people who are participating in the supply chain more accountable. And this brings me to my third point, that is, how do we build confidence in our system? Consumers expect a transparent and a sustainable supply chain. But how do they know when they buy the finished product that this is something which they can buy with confidence? Or the other way of looking at this is, if you're an investor in a company, how will you know for sure the type of company, the type of business, and the way the business is being conducted by the company? So this really is an issue of confidence, trust, and verifiability. A lack of direct influence over suppliers can have downstream effects. So for instance, we know that if the company does not bother to keep detailed records and does not hold people throughout the entire chain accountable, then you can get problems not only with the sources of your commodities, but even with issues like the management of workers' health, their safety, their social and their environmental standards. And it is crucial, therefore, for us to view audits not just as an intrusive, tedious, and unnecessary process, but rather as a way to build confidence, and that the transparency actually helps build your branding and your market access. And this is an area where the NGOs can help to play a crucial role, because you can act as credible and objective third-party auditors. And this will raise consumers' confidence that when they do buy the finished product, the process has been vetted, it has been audited by people who are fair and who do not have vested interests in skewing the results one way or the other. The Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, the RSPO for short, has done a good job in this area. It has united shareholders from the palm oil industry to develop and implement global standards for sustainable palm oil. And the members that do not meet the mark will be blacklisted. I think this will help keep companies on their toes and hopefully reward those who are doing the right thing and behaving sustainably. So finally, let me come to my fourth point, and that is we need to enlist financial institutions into this effort. Consumer countries are usually also investing countries, and financial institutions such as banks and investors have a significant influence on the functioning of markets and on the corporate behavior of the producers, and therefore there is leverage. Such recognition has led to the expectation today that banks and financial institutions will be responsible and will be ethical in their investments or in their loans. In other words, we expect banks and financial institutions to do a hygiene check. It's not just a matter of the interest rate and whether the guy will pay, but how is the company deriving its source of funds? What are its methods of production? Will there be environmental, social, and in extreme cases, even a political risk in your investments? So this has to become part and parcel of standard due diligence. I'll give you a few examples. The banks are important sources of capital for the palm oil sector. According to the Bank Track report in 2010, and this is 5 years ago, the banks have provided about 24% of the total financing needed, and it was further reported that in the past decade, more than $50 billion have been invested in Malaysian and Indonesian palm oil sector alone. Actually, this number, I'm sure, has grown significantly since then. And if you include local sources of capital within Indonesia and Malaysia, there is a significant flow of money into these sectors. As lucrative as this industry has been, it has also faced recurrent criticisms for deforestation. And bringing the context closer to home into the region, we have suffered from transboundary haze. That's merely a symptom of an underlying problem. And that is that we need to hold companies and people all the way down the supply chain accountable for their actions, and we have to deter people and companies from embarking in irresponsible commercial land clearing methods using slash and burn techniques. Due to the environmental scrutiny and the campaigns by environmental NGOs, banks have now also become part of that watch list. And my plea to you, therefore, is please pay attention to this and remember that questions will be asked not only of the companies involved, but also of the financiers and the banks behind the industry. But I do believe the finance sector can do more and does want to do more. And I do believe the consumer countries and investors countries working together with their financial sectors will be equipped with the necessary tools, the knowledge, and the will to do more. So let me conclude by stating perhaps the obvious. Sustainable practice is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. Let us not forget that we live in a part of the world that is entitled to make progress, that is entitled to achieve developmental progress, but we want to do so in a sustainable way because that is the most enlightened, long-term way to achieve progress in a fair way and without having unfairly large segments of your population being penalized. So it is really about taking a long-term view taking an enlightened view, and being fair to all the stakeholders within your country and indeed within your region. So let me make an appeal for stronger and closer cooperation amongst companies, NGOs, governments, citizens, investors, and consumers. That's the only way we're going to create truly a system based on sustainability with the correct signals, the correct incentives and disincentives to align behavior and to get everyone to do the right thing. So thank you all very much for your support for this cause. I look forward to the tough questions during the dialogue later. Thank you.